3 True Ghost Encounters in Movie Theaters. By a now deleted Reddit user, I used to work at a movie theater. I've told this story a few times, in the booth upstairs. I often worked late and alone, with just customers in the theaters and a manager in the downstairs office. It got dark, surrounded by noisy projectors that one by one would be shut off as the movies wrapped up. The building was essentially split into 3 different upstairs areas for the machines. I was in the smaller area that also had 2 windows overlooking the lobby. The last movie had wrapped up, and there had been 2 customers left in the building, not many people. I could peer through my creep windows and make sure they'd left. This particular night I was wrapping up the last showing, and the place was darker than a tomb. Like, pitch black, not an ounce of light but my flashlight. I was heading through this small area with the windows when I heard a laugh. It was the laugh of a small girl, high-pitched and almost hysterical. Imagine a horror movie laugh. My blood ran ice cold and I froze. I managed to get to the windows, assuming it was a customer laughing like an idiot. Nope, empty down there. So I'm alone, in a pitch black area with a creepy laugh. Then I heard it again. Well, I sprinted out of there like Usain Bolt on cocaine. The manager that night was a guy who was known for playing jokes on the projectionists. He'd hide in the bathroom that was tucked down a hallway and jump out as we walked past in the darkness. I sprinted my ass all the way to the office, busted in, and accused him of being a jackass. He gave me the most concerned look I'd ever seen. He'd been sitting in the office the whole time working on reports for the GM. I told him, and we both got kind of nervous and went home for the night. Never heard it again. Shortly after this, I told another manager about the experience and she told me about a security guard. He was a cop during the day and picked up some extra cash working theater security. One night he was on his nightly check and he heard a laugh. A high-pitched, girly laugh. He went into the girls' washroom to check. The building was supposed to be empty. Stall by stall he opened the door to look for this prankster. Each door made him more pissed. At the last door he heard the laugh again and burst in. No one there. That's when the girly voice said, "Not here." He quit that night. Weird shit goes on in movie theaters. Weird shit. By Reddit user Thunderhawk. When I was 16, I was working as an usher at Century Stadium 25 in Anaheim. This theater was a sister theater to the Cinedome in Orange, which was in its last days. I was transferred there to help out. Tickets were selling for like $3 and hardly anybody would show up. I remember going on my break to an empty, dark theater to watch. I got the hookup with Master P. I was sitting there, watching the movie during my 15-minute break, when I kept hearing running behind me all the way back in the theater. I also could hear this little girl giggling. The laughs and steps kept getting closer and closer. I turned around again, squinted and could make out a vague shape and what looked to be blonde hair. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up and something did not feel right. In fact, I got chills all over my body. I slowly, calmly got up from my seat, then did a brisk walk out of the theater to ask the cashier how many tickets we sold to that movie. He told me that we didn't sell any tickets to that movie. I explained that there was a little girl running around in there and asked if maybe her parents were in another theater and she was being unsupervised. He gave me the strangest look and said, "We actually have only sold few tickets to a theater across the way, and it's a couple. There is nobody in there." He paused and then added that Theater 6 was where a little girl died a few years ago. I got the biggest chills ever and did not believe him, but I confirmed it with the general manager and the entire staff. Apparently she climbed behind the screen, fell and broke her neck. Needless to say, I never went in a theater alone after that and was happy to be transferred back a few weeks after. It gives me chills right now, just typing this. I had to share this story as I have an open mind. Also, note that I had no prior knowledge of this, so it wasn't psychosemantic, it actually happened. By Reddit user Tulsagic. This occurred almost 10 years ago, summer of 2010 to be exact, and came to mind when me and my friends were discussing creepy experiences we'd had. I'm honestly not sure what I encountered and would love to hear people's opinions. Me and my grandmother would often go to movies together growing up. Sometimes my sister and grandfather would come along as well, but this time it was just me and my grandmother. It was a 10:30 a.m. weekday showing for a forgettable movie, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, that had already been out for several weeks, so not only was the entire building quiet, but the theater we were in was completely empty. We were sitting in the middle of the upper deck of the theater, where we could see all of the seats, entrances, and stairs leading to the upper deck. We were enjoying the theater to ourselves when suddenly at the same time my grandmother and I both got the feeling that someone was behind us, so we turn around to see a woman dressed in all white. She almost looked like she was wearing a robe or something, with long dark brunette hair standing over us directly in the row behind us. She didn't say or do anything, she just stood there staring at us, breathing steadily and deeply. For some reason that's one of the main things I remember, just how deeply she was breathing. What seems really strange to me is that I did not feel scared at all, nor did I feel any kind of emotion. I just stared at her for at least 5 seconds emotionlessly. This is what still makes me question what exactly I saw. At some point, my grandmother thought that this woman may have been trying to rob us, so she moved to grab her purse. This movement took my attention away from the woman for a moment. When I looked back, not a second later she was gone. Nowhere in the theater. Keep in mind we could see all the seats, stairs, and exits. My grandmother must not have been frightened either because we watched the rest of the movie. When we left after the movie we went to the front desk where they told us that we were the only ones that should have been in that theater, and after talking to their security guard determined that we were the only ones on that side of the building. The manager came out and told us he was sorry about the ordeal. My grandmother and I still were very neutral emotionally about it and told us they would review security footage to see if anyone had entered the theater, but I never heard anything else about it. I still remember this event clearly almost 10 years later, and my grandmother did as well until her memory started going south a couple of years ago. Does anyone have any idea what I saw? I'm really not familiar with anything paranormal, so if I need to elaborate on anything let me know.